Zubin and El back with you on SportsCenter for about 15 more minutes as college hoops is coming 7 p.m. Eastern. You're looking at Mamadi Diakite and Virginia hosting an NC State Wolfpack team they've beaten 8 straight times. But NC State got on a little run in the ACC, won 3 of their last 4 ACC matchups, which is why they're not in the bottom of the ACC standings. But look at there at the bottom. What? North Carolina? The Heels are 1-5 in conference play, and they haven't even won a game in 2020. Carolina hasn't finished last in the ACC since 2002 when it tied for last place.
Markel Johnson, 5 teams according to our bracketologist Lenardi. Is it too early to invoke Lenardi's name? Ready to go at JPJ in Charlottesville. Baylor to follow. Big Monday is 6 minutes away.
Welcome, everyone, to Big Monday, presented by Boost Mobile. You're watching the ACC on ESPN. Tonight, from John Paul Jones Arena in Charlottesville, Virginia, the defending national champion Virginia Cavaliers taking on the Wolfpack of NC State. Let's take a look at the ACC standings entering tonight's action. The top 3 teams seem to have separated themselves a bit from the rest of the pack. Florida State, Louisville, Duke, all in the top 8 in the country, but they're the only ranked teams right now in the ACC. These 2 teams tied for 4th at 4-3 in conference. Jay, those top 3 teams, as we welcome you inside the building, Sean McDonough with Jay Billis, all look like they're going to make the NCAA tournament for sure, but the rest of the league still in need of piling up some wins.
Yeah, you can always say every ACC game is important, so this is an important game, but it's doubly important because NCAA tournament considerations come into play, and especially for NC State, which went 9-9 in the league last year, won 22 games, didn't get into the tournament. They win a game here, that's a quad 1 win. That goes a long way with the tournament committee.
But they're shorthanded as they try to do that tonight as we welcome in Allison Williams.
Hey there, Sean. Yeah, the Wolfpack going to be a short bench for them tonight. They suffered a couple key injuries in their last game against Clemson. Starter Manny Bates, one of their best shot blockers, was suffering a concussion, so he did not make the trip. In addition, forward Pat Andre suffered an ankle sprain. He is here, but wearing a boot on the bench. So they are down to just 7 scholarship players. As much as Kevin Keats likes to press, look for him to pick his spots with that and play more zone on defense.
And both teams with a short turnaround. They each played on Saturday. And the baseline it goes, and there's Jay Huff, a 7'1" redshirt junior, with the first bucket of the night. Johnson is the point guard with Bryce, their leading scorer. Daniels Helms, who's in for the injured Bates, and Funderburk, the starting 5 for the Wolfpack, coached by Kevin Keats in his 3rd season in Raleigh.
You see an awful lot of ball screens from this NC State team. Markel Johnson, their point guard, excellent out of ball screens. Good pass
by Bryce, and Funderburk the finish. DJ Funderburk's been their best player of late, coming off 13 points Saturday in their win against Clemson and a career-high 11 rebounds. Kihei Clark runs the show. And you have to wonder about fatigue for him. He played the full 40 minutes in Virginia's win Saturday in Atlanta against Georgia Tech, which snapped a 3-game losing streak for UVA. Mamadi Diakite off the mark, and the rebound down to Funderburk.
Anytime that NC State can get out in transition, if they can get the ball up court quickly, which is difficult to do after a rebound, you got to try to get something quick against this Virginia defense because it's so good.
Here's tonight's Flipping the Switch, brought to you by Boost Mobile. And we focus on DJ Funderburk, the redshirt sophomore from Cleveland. We mentioned playing the best basketball of his career. 17 and 8.5 over the last 6 in his first career double-double in their win Saturday. 4-3 out of the corner, no good from Jericho Helms.
Those are the kind of shots that NC State needs to knock down. It's hard to get them that open. And Helms was wide open there, just couldn't get it to go.
Clark's shot swatted by Funderburk, and at the other end, it's Helms laying it in.
One of the very few times, Sean, that you will see easy baskets against Virginia because of the turnover. And Virginia this year is turning the ball over at a 20% rate. 20% of its possessions result in a turnover. There's another one.
Braxton Key dribbled it off his foot. And finishing is C.J. Bryce, the 5th-year senior from Charlotte. Started his career at UNC Wilmington with Kevin Keats. Then when Keats got the job with the Wolfpack, he transferred over here. So He's had 5 years in college, all of them with Keats as his head coach at 2 different places.
Last year, Virginia had a 14% turnover rate. That was 12th in the country. At 20%, good move by Braxton Key there. But at 20%, they're like 270th in the country. That is very uncharacteristic of Virginia to be coughing the ball up like they have.
They still play great defense, leading the nation in scoring defense. The opponent scoring 49.5 points per game through 17 games this year. But NC State is a team that can score, averaging better than 77, second highest behind only Duke in the ACC. Foul called as Funderburk went up for a dunk. The crowd thought Jay Huff blocked it, but he got called for his first foul. Pat Driscoll made the call. He's working with James Breeding and Mike Stevens.
Ball got deflected, and I thought that was a clean block by Jay Huff up top. But usually those passes don't get through. One of the reasons it did was the ball was deflected on the way. And anytime the ball's gone into the post to DJ Funderburk, there's been an immediate post-to-post trap. And Tony Bennett wants to get that ball out of the post immediately. So they trap and they move on the flight of the ball to be there. So they got 2 guys on the ball when it arrives.
Tony Bennett led them to the national title last season. School record 35 wins as they went 35-3. Of course, they lost their top 3 scorers to the NBA, all of them drafted. Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, DeAndre Hunter. So it's a young team. It's interesting, the transition. Not only they lose great talent, but they lost great perimeter talent. And last year they were a perimeter-focused team. Now most of their work on the offensive end, at least, is inside.
Yeah, exactly, because of Diakite and Huff. And it's a really good move by Diakite. A little 2-2-1 3/4 court pressure from NC State. And Virginia able to attack it and score right away.
Diakite was a star in their run to the NCAA title through the tournament. Braxton Key rebounds the miss. And now a chance to tie or take the lead for the University of Virginia.
Virginia running some more set plays this season. Just trying to keep things simple and make sure they focus on execution. Last year they could run their sides offense, make reads because they had so many talented players that were experienced.
Nice floater by Kihei Clark. Not intimidated by having one of his earlier shots blocked.
That time he went off 1 foot. Tony Bennett wants his team to play off of 2 feet. And at times when you're as small as Clark, it's better to go off 1 foot and get the shot up as quickly as possible.
Virginia's hit its last 3 shots to tie the game. Trouble on the dribble by Devin Daniels. He got it back. Down to 5 to shoot. And Helms missed out of the corner.
Right, that ball screen, NC State missed C.J. Bryce on the left-hand side. They were looking for the roll for DJ Funderburk, and they had Bryce wide open. They've got to make those decisions quickly and make the right decision. Good pass.
Casey Morsell was out of bounds in the corner. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Boost Mobile. Switch now and get unlimited gigs for the whole family. The switch that gives you more. And in part by USAA, proud supporter of the military community. What you're made of, we're made for.
Virginia is a great defensive team, but one thing they cannot do with their defense is defend a run out after the block shot, which was essentially a turnover. Jericho Helms takes it in for an easy basket, and then Braxton Key turns it over, and C.J. Bryce takes it in for an easy basket, playing ahead of the Virginia defense. Virginia wants to play 5-on-5 in the half court. That's where their advantage is. And you can see last season they only turned it over 14.7% of the time. That was 12th in the country. This season, 21% of the time, 21% of their possessions, they cough it up, and that puts their defense at a tremendous disadvantage.
It's amazing they defend as well as they do. Given that, their points per game allowed is actually down from last year when they led the nation at 56.5%, or points per game rather. 49.5 right now. Nice move down the lane by Markel Johnson, senior point guard out of Cleveland.
One of the biggest reasons for that, though, Sean, is the number of possessions in a game. Like they're slowing the game down even more this year. The pace of play for Virginia is down near the very bottom of Division I in the 340s. And last year, with the team that they had, they could play at a faster rate. Good job by NC State. They will switch 1 through 4, not 1 through 5, but 1 through 4.
Guys, Coach Keats telling his guys to continue to press on defense, try and force more of those turnovers to get that easy offense that you guys were just talking about. And he also told them when they are playing against that half-court defense to continue to move the ball. And he looked at Markel Johnson, who's obviously had a number of games against Virginia. He said, look, they're good defensively, but they're not the same team from previous years defensively. You can get your shot against these guys.
And your point, Allison, about moving the ball is so important, because you don't want to try to just take your guy thinking you can beat your guy, because there's always going to be really good help in this pack line defense. And even when they get in ball screen situations, you have to look behind the roller, because there's going to be an opening behind the roll man. Nice fake by Braxton Key.
Left-handed scoop is wild and claimed by Devin Daniels.
Boy, the move was so good by Key, but instead of trying to go play off 2 feet, get all the way to the basket, he sort of settled.
Funderburk was fouled as he passed off by Braxton Key, his first. Wednesday night, Zion Williamson, you've heard of him, Jay, makes his long-awaited NBA debut for the Pelicans. But first, Kyle Lowry and the Raptors host the 76ers. Eastern Conference matchup at 7. Then finally, it's Zion time. Pelicans and the Spurs at 9:30 Eastern time. What a year he had last year for Duke. National Player of the Year. The Pelicans picked him #1 overall. Of course, both games on Wednesday on ESPN and the app. And let's hope he stays healthy and has the kind of career everybody thinks he's going to have.
I think he will. I don't know who has a crystal ball, but the idea that he's spent his whole career hurt just isn't accurate. I mean, he had a blowout at his shoe. There's another run out.
Off the Virginia turnover that Jay was talking about, and the foul. Casey Morsell prevented the layup and make NC State earn it at the line. First foul on the freshman.
These mistakes that Virginia are making, I don't call that these are not forced turnovers. That was just a bad decision by Kihei Clark, leaving his feet and then turning behind him to throw the ball behind him. I mean, that was just a giveaway, and that allows NC State to play ahead of the Virginia defense. And you can't defend an offensive rebound, and you can't defend a run out. And you're going to pitch the ball away. You're putting your defense in a bad spot all game long.
See the numbers for C.J. Bryce, their leading scorer and rebounder. 3 double-doubles already this season.
Guys have to make themselves available. This is a simple 2-2-1 3/4 court press, and they are just coughing the ball up like crazy.
And it is another turnover. The dilemma tonight for Coach Keats, they like to press. They do a great job forcing turnovers, but with a limited number of bodies, as Allison mentioned, due to the injuries, he's going to have to be selective when he brings the pressure.
He might have to be selective. It's just being smart as far as not slapping at the ball and using your hands. If you play with your body and put this Virginia team in a position to turn it over, right now they're obliging. I mean, it's not like these turnovers have been, they're just taking the ball away from you. NC State's played good defense, but I don't think Virginia's been very strong with the ball at all. There've been a lot of giveaways.
Danny Dixon just missed the tip for NC State. He's likely to play a little bit more tonight than usual, the absence of Manny Bates. 10 seconds to shoot now for UVA. There's Dixon, graduate transfer from UMKC. Also played a couple of years at George Mason.
Just about every screen has been a switch.
Braxton Key from the free throw line.
He's been in a good rhythm the last several games. He was injured against Arizona State, had a hand injury, but the last 5 games he's averaged 12 points, 7 rebounds, a couple of steals. He's really been playing much better.
A 1-point lead for the Wolfpack. They've lost the last 8 head-to-head against Virginia. Bad pass by Devin Daniels.
You should have just taken it all the way to the rim. When you drive baseline on Virginia, they don't want you to go baseline. They want you to go middle.
Key powers in on Markel Johnson and draws the foul. First foul on Johnson. When we come back, we'll tell you about the new #1 team in the country.
Coming up tonight at 9 o'clock on ESPN, Oklahoma comes to Baylor. And why is that going to be such a difficult game? Because guess who's the new #1 team in the country?
That's right, Holly. The Baylor Bears, the 7th different team to climb atop the AP poll this season. Second time in school history they've been #1. They were there for 1 week in January of 2017. Winners of 14 in a row. And Jay, they leapfrogged over Gonzaga this week, despite the fact that both teams went 2-0 during the week.
Yeah, and Gonzaga had big wins. Not necessarily big as far as opponent, but they blew their competition out. So it's a little bit unusual.
BYU.
Yeah, it's a little bit unusual to have a team leapfrog when they've won 2 games. But Baylor is certainly deserving. I mean, they've got excellent guards led by Jared Butler and Devontae Bandu and Maceo Teague. They're really, really good.
Well, we mentioned 7 different teams ranked #1. That's the most since the AP poll record of 7 in 82-83. The poll goes back to the late 40s. How about Rutgers? 14-4, ranked number 24 in the AP poll for the first time since the final poll of the 78-79 season, when they had some terrific teams under Tom Young. Nice move by Funderburk, and he scored, weaving his way around Jay Huff. 6 for DJ Funderburk.
That was an excellent job by NC State to throw back against the grain and then go into the post, so it would be harder to double. They moved Diakite around. He couldn't get down to the low post for that post-to-post double.
So 3 lead changes here in the first 9 minutes. Diakite from 3. Mamadi Diakite, just his 13th 3 of the season. They had made just 88 all season long, entering tonight fewest in the ACC.
Guys, Mamadi Diakite, one of the veteran leaders on a pretty young Virginia team. And to start that last time out, Tony Bennett always begins it by huddling with his assistant coaches away from the team. And it was Diakite that was really vocal and telling guys they need to up their intensity. They need to really wake up now. And one of the things they want to try and do offensively, when Bennett did join the huddle, he talked about working the ball inside and getting Huff and Diakite touches in the paint.
Johnson underneath, nice pass for the dunk for Funderburk. Having another terrific night, continuing his run of excellent play lately.
Funderburk is so mobile. He's in much better condition. He's an athletic post that can really step away, but he's been among the hottest big guys in the ACC over the last 6-7 games.
4th time we've been tied already here in the first 10 minutes. Diakite threw it away, past Huff, and that's 5 turnovers committed by Virginia already.
When Diakite drove into the lane, he played off of 2 feet, which is what Tony Bennett wanted. But he pivoted and then threw this post pass that even if Jay Huff caught it, there was nothing he could have done with it. It was leading him to the corner instead of leading him into a move or leading him to the basket. A good hedge by Jay Huff on the ball screen. Oldest Sensei picked up the roll.
Braxton Beverly rushed to 3. They still had 8 on the shot clock. Maybe he was more concerned about Diakite, an excellent shot blocker, lunging at him. The shot was way off, but he got fouled by Diakite, his first. And Beverly's going to shoot 3.
You have to give the player, the shooter, an opportunity to land. And Diakite invaded his space and hit him as he was coming down. Braxton Beverly can really shoot. He's not been shooting the ball extraordinarily well this year. He's 36% from 3 in the last 3 ball games. He's 4 of 17 from 3, but you give him an open look and he's a dangerous shooter.
Diakite goes to the bench.
Already Virginia has 5 team fouls, which is really unusual that they would have more fouls hung on them than their opponent.
And they came into tonight's game the second fewest fouls per game, just under 13 in the country. Only Notre Dame fouls less per game. Long three wouldn't go, but Jay Huff, the offensive rebound, and a dunk. He just lowered his shoulder into Funderburk and flushed it.
How about Jay Huff? You had mentioned how well he's been playing of late, coming off his best game of the season against Georgia Tech, where he had 17 points. He had 6 blocks in that game. And that was an aggressive finish by Jay Huff.
Helms a miss, and then a foul on Funderburk in the corner, his first.
He didn't get blocked out by Funderburk. Threw his shoulder right into the chin of Funderburk. That could have been an offensive foul. But give credit to Huff for making the tough play and then dunking the ball hard. He's really improved, and he came in as primarily a shooter. He's gotten a lot stronger, and he can pull the trigger from 3, but has really improved his overall game.
Also tried to force it inside. He was lucky it bounced back to him. And Morcell laid it in. His playing time's come down a lot lately as he struggled to shoot. Virginia's made 7 of its last 9 from the field. The Cavaliers lead by a point.
Markel Johnson trying to make something happen there, but he was doing it without the ball moving from side to side. And that's when, if you don't make the Virginia defense move, you've got very little opportunity to get something good. And Johnson's an excellent passer, led the ACC in assists last year. He's 2nd right now.
He's also 12 points away from 1,000 entering tonight. Devin Daniels the miss. That'll be 1,000 for his career. Markel Johnson needs 10 more now. He's had 1 bucket tonight.
Well, that's the benchmark of a great college career, is 1,000 points.
Let me guess. I know you had, I think you had 1,001 or 3. I mean, you barely made it.
1,062.
Is that what it was?
But I also missed 6 games. Otherwise, it would have been 2,000.
When you were at your humility classes? How many rebounds? I'm sure you know all your stats, so you might as well go ahead and unload them here on our first big Monday.
There's no reason to.
How many rebounds?
Just under 700.
That's a lot, too.
To that point, it's just under 800. It was 692, but it was barely under 800.
I know there weren't any assists. Bryce, a miss. Danny Dixon tips it in. He's 6'10" from Grosse Pointe Park, Michigan. His first basket of the night. He scored 10 points all season now, but as we said, he needs to play with Manny Bates, the 6'11" redshirt freshman, out with a concussion, leading shot blocker in the ACC. Kick ball by Dixon. Well, speaking of humility, when we come back, Jay will have Illustrator's Best, the best of the week gone by in college basketball. Apparently we have a new feature. I can promise you no one ran this by me. Illustrator's Best.
Yes, and it has actually been going on social media for quite some time.
Oh,
it's just coming to Big Monday because it's our first Big Monday. But the team of the week, the Illustrators Team of the Week,
highly
is
coveted
Seton
honor.
Hall. It is a highly coveted honor that comes with a very nice plaque made of papier-mâché. But Seton Hall beat Butler at Hinkle, and then won at St. John's, which was a terrific week. The player of the week's been Luka Garza, who had 33 points against Michigan, 77 points in 2 games against the Wolverines for the big guy from Iowa. And then the rookie of the week was David Johnson of Louisville, who was absolutely spectacular against Duke. He had 19 points, 17 in the first half, and I think showed the entire country that watched that game that he is going to be a great college player in his time at Louisville.
And they were impressive the other night, Louisville, and winning at Duke. Danny Dixon called for his first foul for NC State. Jay Huff at the line. Now, is there a blue ribbon committee that you consult with during the week, or is this?
No, it just comes from my my considerable gray matter.
Comes out of your beard?
It is from the huge cranium of the Illustrator.
Seton Hall into the top 10. Your team of the week. With their good week. They're number 10 in the AP poll just out today.
And now that they're healthy, I mean, Miles Powell has been outstanding all year long, making a credible case for not only first-team All-America, but National Player of the Year. What a tough shot from C.J. Bryce.
And to me, Kevin Willard nationally is a coach who doesn't get enough credit for what he has done and is doing, both at Iona and at Seton Hall.
I think that's absolutely right. And he has done a fabulous job at Seton Hall. And that league, the Big East, is among the best leagues in the country this year. I think it's the Big East and the Big Ten right now. I would put as the two best leagues. I'd put the Big Ten #1. And right now, it's near impossible to win a road game in the Big Ten.
There's the top 25 by conference. We mentioned ACC with 3 teams. They're all in the top 8. Florida State, Louisville, and Duke, 5, 6, and 8, respectively. Chase Coleman has come in for Virginia. He doesn't play much. He's number 12, backup point guard. He's a walk-on. There's a 3 out of the corner for Casey Morsell. So maybe he's getting out of his long shooting slump tonight.
Well, that's important for Casey Morsell to get off to a good start. He had a bucket a little bit earlier and has been playing some pretty good defense. But his last 4 games, he's been 2 of 13. He had 19 points against Arizona State earlier this year. But just shooting coming into this game, 9 of 62 from 3-point range.
His basket was a 2 to tie the game. As we approach 6 minutes left in the first half. Sean McDonough with Jay Billis and Allison Williams. Delighted to have you with us for Big Monday. Oklahoma #1 Baylor coming up when we're finished here in Charlottesville. Devin Daniels the miss and saved along the end line by Chase Coleman.
Virginia tightening up its defense. That's why they want to play in the half court, because they are so difficult with that pack line. They don't give up many open shots. You let when they turn it over and let their opponent play ahead of their defense, they can give up some easy baskets.
Johnson underneath by Funderburk, and he's fouled. Good catch by Funderburk. The pass seemed to catch him by surprise, but he was still able to corral it.
Well, it was all the catch because he was in a crowd and worried a little bit, about maybe charging, but it was a great catch. Terrific footwork so as not to travel when he caught it, and then going up and keeping his eyes on the rim after Wolfpack fouled him, and then getting the play to go, getting the shot to go. 10 points already for DJ Funderburk.
And 2 fouls on Wolfpack's side, so he's gone to the bench. Mentioned NC State not very deep because of injury, and Virginia just not very deep, period. So any kind of foul trouble hurts them. Cody Statman is in the game with the ball now, number 23, 6'7" sophomore. Strong drive and the finish by Braxton Key.
Virginia had lifted up its offense, and there was nobody in the low post to clog it up, so Braxton Key could just have that left-hand drive all the way to the rim with no help.
Quick shot wouldn't go for C.J. Bryce. NC State has not made a 3.
One-on-one coverage in the post. They're not going to go double team.
Diakite and Funderburk won that battle, defended it beautifully.
Just forced a tough 2 and a fadeaway 2.
Bryce, tough shot with Braxton Key defending.
And Virginia does such a good job of staying in front, making you make a tough shot over them. Doing it without fouling. That's a difficult thing to do. It takes a lot of defensive discipline.
So well coached on defense.
No question.
By Tony Bennett and his staff. Key missed the 3, kept alive by Diakite. Just to amplify the point, Tony Bennett's teams have led the nation in scoring defense 6 times and been in the top 5 in 10 of his 13 seasons as a college head coach, both here and at Washington State. So the players change, but the defense is a constant, largely because of the outstanding coaching by the 4-time ACC Coach of the Year and his staff.
Kev, Fonz, and Coach. Chief Halftime Report is on the way. Coming up, we'll continue the conversation that Sean and Jay had about the new #1, the Baylor Bears. You'll see them on our air, 9 Eastern, ESPN tonight. Fonz, is this Virginia team a tournament team?
Sadly, no, not right at this point. Their best wins are at home against Vermont and Virginia Tech. That won't get it done.
Why so sadly? My question for Bills is real simple. With so few top 25 teams in the ACC, how do teams play their way into the tournament? Because they don't have the same number of opportunities.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Seth. And first of all, kudos to LaFonso Ellis and Seth Greenberg for the debut of Bald Men on Campus, the fantastic new show that you can see on the ACC network.
See, and now if people didn't know, they clearly know that you're in it, because that's the only reason you would have A, brought it up, and B, called it fantastic.
I'm not just in it, I'm the star of it.
And you're the most bald.
It is a fabulous show, and we would love to have you on as one of our bald guests at some point.
I would be honored, but unfortunately my calendar is full for the rest of my life. Key trying to tip it in, and so did Statman. Statman tries again. It gets pinballed around and finally snatched by Funderburk.
We'll talk about rebounding out of your area. That was a great job by Funderburk to pursue that ball. But Sean, to Seth Greenberg's question, really what you're going to have to do is pick off one of the top teams, whether it's Duke, Louisville, Florida State. Great drive by Markel Johnson. Duke, Louisville, Florida State. You've got to pick one of those off, whether it's home or away. And then I think you got to win road games against the middle of the league, because that's the only way to elevate those games into a different quadrant. You know, that now with this new net system that the NCAA has rather than the RPI, they rank wins by quadrant. And you can have a quad 2 win that's elevated to quad 1 because it's on the road. And that's what can happen for NC State. They win this game. Virginia is a quad 2 opponent, but this would be a quad 1 win because it's on the road, and you get brownie points for winning on the road.
When we talked to Kevin Keats this morning, he said he feels like the ACC this year is getting a little bit of a bum rap, because of course they don't have the superstar players like we saw last year. They're not going to have 3 #1 seeds in the NCAA tournament. Maybe a long time or forever before that happens in the NCAA tournament. But he thinks there are a lot of very good teams and very good players in this conference. It isn't quite what it was last year, but that would have been hard to repeat.
Yeah, it's not what it was last year, but that's true in a number of leagues around the country. But I would differ with him. I mean, I think it's going to be tough for the ACC to get more than 5 teams in the league based upon non-conference. Now, we'll see what happens. If some of the teams start in the middle, start picking off, as we discussed, Duke, Louisville, Florida State, and racking up wins and winning on the road and taking care of their business, then we may see more. But I think right now, the ACC is probably the 4th, maybe even 5th best league in the country.
Enjoy your last big Monday in the ACC. Diakite a miss. Statman a nice offensive rebound. Key a miss. Diakite and Funderburk really tangled up. The officials with a play on there. We're down to 1:40 to go in the half. It's been tight throughout.
Virginia getting more offensive rebounds in this game than normal. Usually they only send 2 guys to the offensive glass because they don't want to give up anything in transition. But there have been some longer rebounds. They've been hanging around. What a great play by DJ Funderburk. He just locked down Mamadi Diakite in the low post, and he was right under the basket. And that was a tough finish through contact.
This match is the largest lead of the game for either team. It's the second time NC State's been up by 4.
How good has DJ Funderburk been in this game? You have double-figure points in the first half against Virginia. That's impressive.
Key a miss from in close. We're under a minute to go in the half. Numbers on the break, so Daniels keeps on going and then has it blocked by Casey Morsell, the freshman from Port Washington, Maryland. And Statman finishes at the other end. His first bucket of the night.
Talk about turning defense into offense. NC State had an advantage situation. Morsell blocked the shot. Statman gets a layup. What a turnaround.
Largest lead for Virginia was 2. Largest NC State lead 4. Good hands by Key. And still 8 to shoot for NC State.
Casey Morsell has done a really good job in this game. Doesn't foul, then all of a sudden there's basically a 3-on-2, and Statman, really nice job not walking after Braxton Key tried to shoot the gap in front of him.
Timeout, 16.9 to go in the half. Lively atmosphere as usual here in Charlottesville. Beautiful John Paul Jones Arena. I couldn't believe when I looked at the notes, St. Lawrence 14th year.
Is it 14 years?
14 seasons in this building.
I thought it was so progressive of Virginia to name the arena after a great bass player for Led Zeppelin, John Paul Jones.
Markel Johnson banging with K.A. Clark. I'm not sure he knows the shot clock is about to run out. He did. He missed. Out of bounds. Big call here, and it goes to the Wolfpack with 5.9 in the half.
Even though Virginia's turned the ball over in this first half, offensively, they've done a pretty darn good job.
Braxton Beverly taken off the rim by Diakite. Time for a heave. He got it off. Or did he? No. James Brading was signaling it wasn't going to count even if it went in. DJ Funderburk, the star of this first half, closely contested. He didn't miss a shot from the floor. 12 for 12. And 12 points rather, and 5 for 5, and 2 out of 3 from the line. He also had 4 rebounds. Here's Allison.
Thank you guys very much, Coach Keats. What have you done well defensively to force some of those turnovers?
Well, I thought we were very active with our hands. We talked about in this game, making sure we were active. We switched a lot of screens. We've done a great job taking away their interior play right now.
DJ Funderburk has been big for you guys in that first half. What has he done well, especially with Bates out?
Well, he's been able to score, so we've been able to take a little pressure off our guards by throwing the ball inside. We got to be a little bit more aggressive when we're making drives. We're going off one leg. I want our guys to make strong moves.
Got it. Thanks, Coach.
28-26, Wolfpack at the half. Now let's send you back to the studio. Here's the halftime report. Welcome back to Big Monday, presented by Boost Mobile. At the half here at John Paul Jones Arena, the legendary Red Panda with another flawless performance. Words that have never been spoken about. Jay Billis, we welcome you back. NC State with a 2-point lead at the half. Sean McDonough along with Dr. Naismith himself. And Jay, let's take a look at your Capital One rewarding performance from the first half.
Well, not surprisingly, it's DJ Funderburk, who was 5 of 5 in the first half. We're going to take a look at what NC State did to get him open. It's 4-round-1. Funderburk going to come out and set a ball screen on Markel Johnson, and then as soon as he sets it, he's going to immediately roll to the basket. And when he does, Markel Johnson's going to throw out of that ball screen across court. And he's got Diakite locked down deep post, and there's not enough pressure on the ball to keep it from easily going in there. And Funderburk, 12 points in the first half, 5 of 5 from the field. The rest of the NC State Wolfpack, 6 of 22 and 16 points. Funderburk has been a problem.
A moment ago, Allison with Tony Bennett.
Coach Bennett, what did you guys do to clean up the turnovers in the later part of the half?
Yeah, they had 10 points on our turnovers, so you still have to try to spread the floor and attack, but sometimes just play off 2 feet and not throw the pick sixes, so to speak, and be better with that, and then we got to keep guarding at a high level.
Any adjustments you need to see defensively on Funderburk?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we've gotten behind him, and when he gets it, we'll trap him at times and make it harder for him to get deep catches.
Thank you, Tony.
And a great question by Allison. You saw already they doubled Funderburk on that catch. Diakite came over to help.
Well, they were doubling in the first half. The problem was there were times when they would isolate the post and they couldn't get it into a double. So they've moved the opposite big guy around because he's got to turn around and guard a perimeter player. So with NC State going smaller at times, that's been more difficult for a post-to-post double. They're going to have to double down from the perimeter at times to get the ball out of the hands of DJ Funderburk.
K.A. Clark the miss, and the ball ricocheted out of bounds off the rim. So it's NC State with a 2-point lead, despite the fact that the 32 points in the first half was the lowest first half total of the year for the Wolfpack. Jarrett Cole-Helms hands it off to Markel Johnson. K.A. Clark's done a nice job on Johnson, and there's a 3 out of the corner for C.J. Bryce, and he has 8 points.
That's the first 3 of the ball game for NC State. They really didn't shoot the ball well in the first half, with the exception of DJ Funderburk. The offense was not great in the first half for NC State.
Jay Huff makes the second 3 of the game for UVA.
Beautiful pass out of a baseline drive. And Huff can really shoot the ball. He is in a terrific rhythm offensively right now and attacking.
He has 8 points tonight. He had his career high 17 Saturday against Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Also had 6 block shots in that game. A career high. Devin Daniels for 3. So the 3-point shooting much better out of the gate here in the first 2 minutes of the second half than we saw throughout the first half.
And the reason it's better is because they're getting step-in threes. Right now, NC State is getting into the paint. Virginia's going to have to do a better job protecting its paint because they're getting into the paint, collapsing the defense, and kicking it out to open shooters.
Nice scoop by Kihei Clark with Jericho Helms defending. 4 points for Clark, sophomore from Southern California, Woodland Hills.
Double drag up top.
Daniels transferred from Utah. Thunderbird.
What a catch. How many good catches has he made in this game? One in the first half when he could have walked, and that one looked like Wolde Tensai was going to be able to knock it away, but he went after it. Thunderbird did with 2 hands. That was a big-time catch.
I always wonder when you ask a question like that because I feel bad if I don't know the exact number. He's made several, a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of rhetorical.
Wolde Tensai the miss for Virginia. Johnson with some room, Long with a 3-point try, and scooped off the floor by Kihei Clark. NC State by 5. They've never won in this building. 0-8 all time in John Paul Jones Arena. Diakite lost it as he tried to spin away from Helms.
Another turnover.
There's 7. But Diakite hustled back to block the shot by Bryce. Helms blocked again by Diakite.
2 big-time plays by Mamadi Diakite. Running back, going off 1 foot, and he was even with the square on that and timed this one out perfectly to block the shot of Jericho Helms.
2 blocks tonight, 141 for his career. He's 3rd all time at Virginia, now tied with Isaiah Wilkins.
Sean, right on that last possession, Markel Johnson got the ball in the low post, and Tony Bennett came with a double team. When the ball goes into the post, Virginia wants to get it out of there. So they're coming, while the ball's in the air, they're coming with that double team.
Helms, and a foul called. Thunderbird was trying to establish position in the lane with Huff on his hip. And after the ball sailed out of bounds, Pat Driscoll called the foul on Huff.
Unless Huff had an arm around him, and he does. So he had an arm around him. That was a good call. It was the right arm of Jay Huff that was around Thunderbird, not allowing him to break contact and get in front.
Come the double Thunderbird again. Key couldn't save it.
I think NC State is better off using Thunderbird in ball screen situations and letting him screen himself into the post and roll down in the post. When it's going to be a wing pass, you're just inviting that double to come over, and that can be a turnover, which it almost was right there with the cross-court pass.
4 minutes gone by, second half. With 3 on the shot clock, tough shot by the spinning Markel Johnson. Rebounded by Mamadi Diakite is 4th. Can Virginia find a way to score? They haven't scored 70 in a game this year. Only 2 teams in the country averaging fewer points per game than the University of Virginia. Arkansas Pine Bluff and Maryland Eastern Shore.
Virginia's shooting such a low percentage in ACC play. They're shooting under 40% in ACC games as a team. And that's hard for any defense to overcome.
Devin Daniels pump, count the bucket. They'll have a chance for a 3-point play. Daniels didn't score in the first half. He has 5 quick ones here in the second half. Wolde Tensai called for his 3rd foul.
Welcome back to Virginia. The Cavaliers unranked in the AP poll for the first time since November 2017. So some of these losses they've suffered really uncharted territory for this team. Tony Bennett, who is so good at motivating his team and finding unique ways to deliver his message, has been sharing this quote with them. It's from tennis player Stan Wawrinka's forearm. It's actually a prose piece by Samuel Beckett. It says, "Ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again, fail again. Fail better." That is what he wants his team to remember throughout this season of ups and downs. And Mamadi Diakite said it's just a constant reminder that no matter if we fall, we always have to find a way back up.
Yeah, Allison, that's a great point, because Tony Bennett tries to stay really positive with his team. He has really high standards, but he wants this team to continue to find a way to keep playing, keep plugging, to fight, scrap, and use gutty play. And it's going to have to be primarily defensively, and they can't really make mistakes on the defensive end.
You know, it was very impressive too. He recited that when we visited with Tony yesterday from memory. You or I would have had to carry around a picture of Stan's forearm there to remember that quote verbatim.
Well, I tattooed it on my forearm. That's how I remembered it today.
Stan plays tonight, by the way. ESPN, the worldwide leader in cross promotion. Excellent promotion. He plays tonight, his first round match in the Australian Open. 10 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN 2. I asked our producer, the always helpful Eric Mosley, who he's playing tonight, so maybe we could add that nugget. He said, someone whose name I cannot pronounce. So if you want to know who Stan's playing, you'll have to tune in at 10 o'clock. And hopefully he'll fail better. Jay Hoff.
Great job by Bronson Key to keep that ball alive. He's got 7 rebounds. Should get credit for another one.
Kihei Clark all the way to the bucket. I think he was surprised he was able to get off such a clean shot at 5'9" in among the trees. And then he committed the foul.
Bummer for Kihei Clark. He did exactly what his coach wanted, playing off of 2 feet. But he probably needed to get that to the rim quicker and go off of 1.
Don't you have to play off 2 feet most of the time unless you're hopping?
No.
I remember a couple of years ago I was with you in Maui when a former coach said you need to stop saying he left his feet. You can't leave your feet. Your feet go with you, even if you're in the air.
Steve Yoder.
Steve Yoder.
He says you can't leave your feet. Your feet go with you. You leave the floor.
Helms kind of living up to the scouting report. He's a real streaky shooter, and it helps Helms if he makes the first 1 or 2. He got off to a rough start, and he's now 1 for 7 from the floor, 0 for 4 from behind the arc.
His best game was against Wisconsin. He had 23 points, went 4 of 6 from 3.
Well, we're talking about good wins for these two teams. That's a big win.
That's probably their best win.
Well, let's not sell short some of the other victories. Actually, we should sell short a lot of victories. Who NC State has played in the non-conference.
Wow.
Boy, the crowd wanted to foul as Marcel went hard to the rim.
It was a foul. Doesn't matter whether you're straight up and down. There's no legal guarding position there.
Bryce a 3. You know, Jay, in recent years, as the league goes to level the Wolfpack, we've said many times, when you fall behind Virginia by even 6 or 8, it feels like it's 12 or 16 because they defend so well. Kevin Keats made the point this morning, if you can get ahead of this Virginia team, it feels like an even bigger lead because of the Cavs' struggle to score.
Yeah, it's the same principle. Yeah, that's a foul. There's no question about it. I don't see how you can just put your arms up and say that's not a foul. But yeah, it's going to be tough to come back when you're down this much.
Tomorrow, the Super Tuesday doubleheader on ESPN and the ESPN app features 2 of the top 10 teams in the country. John Calipari, 15th ranked Kentucky, taking on Anthony Edwards and Georgia. That's at Rupp Arena at 7. Then Miami squares off against Coach K. Number 8, Duke. That's at Cameron indoor. Here's today's Wendy's Wooden Watch. There are 3 ACC players on the midseason top 25 for the Wooden Award, best college basketball player in the country.
Yeah, and it's only 25, but it was really hard to believe that John Mooney was not on that list. I mean, John Mooney from Notre Dame's averaging like 14 points and 14 rebounds a game. I mean, with those kind of numbers and production, you would think he would have made that list as well.
foul. It is my first Big Monday of the season, our first Big Monday. It was my first basketball game of the season. But unless they've changed, we read that tomorrow, 2 of the top 10 teams in the country, but Duke's number 8 and Kentucky's number 15.
Well, they have been top 10.
Okay. But not according to the poll that we seem to rely on for most of our references. 8 turnovers now for Virginia.
Virginia, look, it's really difficult to pitch shutouts every time down the court, but they have to do everything in their power to keep NC State out of the lane.
Vanderberg missed just before the shot clock expired. Virginia's gone more than 5 minutes now without scoring.
They had a really good opportunity using Jay Huff up top, a little pick and pop. See, that time off 1 foot, it was easier to get that shot off. Kihei Clark just missed it.
And they can't three-point shoot their way back into the game. They just don't have the weapons like they had last year with Jerome and Guy and Hunter.
No, but they do have guys that can make an open three, whether it's Jay Huff or even Kihei Clark can make one, but he's got the ball in his hands all the time.
Last year they made more than 8 threes per game, nearly 8.5. This year they're just over 5 threes per game. Down to 12 minutes to go.
Virginia's getting enough stops. Man, it is really hard on your defense if you can't get some scores.
Allison mentioned last week they fell out of the poll for the first time since 2017. 46 consecutive weeks in the poll, 38 of those in the top 10. They were as high as number 5 earlier this season when they were 7-0 before they lost to Purdue. Huff for 3. They just can't get it to go. Foul on the rebounding action. And it's against the Wolfpack. It's the second foul on DJ Funderburk. And a timeout with 11:27 to go in Charlottesville. Will you be at one of those games?
I will be at Tennessee, Kansas in Lawrence, Kansas, Allen Fieldhouse. One of the great venues, if not the greatest venue in all of college basketball.
Really? Well, I know
right
it's one of the greatest, but to hear
right there with
from
Cameron
Duke
Indoor Stadium.
say that, you're risking alienating your peeps.
I'm not going to alienate anybody. I mean, anybody that's been there.
You are the king of alienating.
Anybody? No, I alienate my play-by-play partners. Anybody who has ever been to Allen Fieldhouse cannot argue that it is right there with Cameron Indoor
There's nothing better. But Cameron, I had the chance Saturday night while you were working with the great Dan Schulman. I had the chance to sit in the stands at Cameron as a fan, and it was a real treat. As you might expect, Francisco Cafaro in off the bench. He doesn't play much. Big guy, 7-footer. But usually when we do the game, we're in that hot box upstairs.
Yes.
You don't have a very good view, and it's cramped and uncomfortable. Sitting in the stands the other night, it was a real treat to watch that game. Boy, I was so impressed by Louisville.
You had no analyst to interrupt you in the stands. It was wonderful.
That's true.
That bucket on the other end for Virginia for Francisco Cafaro. They call him Poppy. That was his first basket since he scored 10 points in this building against North Carolina. He has not scored since.
When was that?
That was a while back.
Okay. I'll do your research for you.
I'm sorry, I don't have the exact
date. But it's
on
okay.
me.
But people want to say, was that last week, last month, last year?
It was a few weeks ago.
It was December 8th. It's quite a long time ago. It was so long ago, North Carolina was ranked number 7 in the country. They're now in last place. That's one of the most shocking things of this entire season, college basketball. North Carolina is 1-5 in conference play and alone in last place in the ACC right now. We're going to see the Tar Heels next Monday at NC State. You talk to coaches around the league, the thing we have heard over and over again is there's too much talent for them to be struggling as much as they are.
Well, they obviously don't have Cole Anthony, who was the #1 point guard coming in to college basketball at a high school last year, and Anthony's their leading scorer. That was difficult to lose him, but I agree. They're not a great team, and they're not a vintage North Carolina team, even with Cole Anthony, but they are way better than they are playing, and they got to play a lot tougher.
Kihei Clark, the bucket. And the Cavaliers trying to scratch their way back into this one. Midway through the second half, they're down by 7.
Big defensive breakdown for NC State. They allowed Kihei Clark to refuse that screen. There was a screen that he was going to use at the top of the key. That's a foul by Cafaro. Just didn't get called. But you can't allow Kihei Clark to refuse a screen.
Tough shot by Johnson. Diakite batted it around to Cafaro.
A big possession here. Virginia needs to get a basket. Really put some game pressure on NC State.
NC State's now gone 4.5 minutes without a field goal. Clark with the left hand, short off the bank, and scooped off the floor by Danny Dixon.
That's the third time that Kihei Clark has been within point-blank range and can't get it to go.
Markel Johnson to C.J. Bryce. DJ Funderburk came to screen. Danny Dixon, Braxton Beverly, the other two on the floor for North Carolina State. 5 to shoot. Bryce has to shoot. And it never struck rim. It was closely guarded by Cody Statman. Kevin Keats' team 0 for its last 5.
Take a look at Kihei Clark here. He's supposed to get a screen from Cafaro. Braxton Beverly's got to force him into that screen. Instead, he refused it, got all the way to the basket for an easy layup. Kihei Clark loves to refuse ball screens. And that time, Beverly needed to force him into it.
Virginia doing the job on the defensive end. They've held NC State scoreless now for nearly 5.5 minutes. Can they find enough offense? Diakite with Funderburk. Bryce thinking about doubling. Funderburk fouled him on a reach in.
Almost like an NBA play by Diakite. When he saw the hand outstretched from Funderburk, he just went right into that hand with his shot. Kind of James Harden-esque.
3 fouls now on Funderburk. 5 team fouls on NC State. Homecoming for Kevin Keats. He grew up in Lynchburg, Virginia, a little over an hour away from here. Parents still live there. Diakite makes the first. Big Monday continues right after this game, right here on ESPN and the ESPN app. Oklahoma and Waco to take on #1 Baylor. Bears have beaten the Sooners the last 3, 5 out of 6.
Saw Oklahoma last week. They need a better performance out of Brady Manick and Christian Doolittle if they want to win in Waco, because Baylor's legit.
Nearly 6 minutes without a point for NC State. Devin Daniels.
A lot of dribbling, not a lot of passing.
Daniels just tripped. Shot clock down to 3. A heave by Johnson, and it almost went. Then it winds up in the hands of Kihei Clark. 6 unanswered points for Virginia.
And they've really done it all defensively. They have been really difficult to score upon the last 5 times down.
And given how long NC State's been scoreless, Virginia would think would have more of a run than 6-zip. Out of bounds, it's immediate timeout, and the Wolfpack in need of it. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball, brought to you by Boost Mobile. Switch now and get unlimited gigs for the whole family. The switch that gives you more. All right, thank you. Kevin, never liked when they say what's on the other channel. They're encouraging people to leave. Jay Billis. But here's a look at all the #1 teams this season. Now all 7 with Baylor's ascension this week. Do you think there's clearly a best team?
No,
most
I don't.
Talented?
I don't. This is the first year since probably 2010, 2011 when I think using the word parity actually makes sense. Usually when that word's been used in college basketball, it's been to try to explain an upset. And there are upsets in basketball.
Casey Morsell continues the momentum for Virginia. 8-0 run.
That's only the 5th basket in the second half for Virginia, and yet they're only 1 possession down. The Virginia defense in the second half has been tightened up considerably. They are not allowing penetration. And in the first half, DJ Funderburk was 5 of 5, knocked down some free throws, but he had 12 points. He's only got 2 points in the second half, and he's working just as hard.
Now the officials conferring. They called a foul on C.J. Bryce. NC State up to 6:37 without a point and still leading by 3.
They called a foul on C.J. Bryce. I thought they called it on Morcell.
Oh, excuse me, the other 13.
Yeah.
They called it on 13 on Virginia, Casey Morcell.
He had an arm bar on him to impede the drive, but what I don't understand is what they're looking at. Unless there was some sort of action. See, there's that arm bar. That's just a normal foul. But maybe away from the ball, there was some action that they needed to look at. Maybe somebody took a swing at somebody under the basket after, and it would have been after the play. I saw a little bit of something just in that last replay right under the basket after the whistle was blown.
And Tony Bennett taking advantage of the time to coach up his team.
Right under the basket, Funderburk and Cafaro, or John back and forth, and Cafaro gave him a little push there. That, if that is anything, they would call that a contact technical foul, because it was not during the course of play. It was during a dead ball.
But do you think that has to be something, what Cafaro did?
Probably does, yeah. It probably does. I mean, you know, that Louis Carnesecca would have said that was a subway push. You know, not a big deal, but in today's world, they'll probably tee that up, is my guess.
Cafaro doesn't play much. He appeared in only 9 of their 17 games prior to tonight.
Unless the officials cannot get the replay they're looking for, this takes an extraordinary amount of time. But
I'm sure they saw the 2 replays that we saw that showed that he.
Well, you don't know, because it's DV Sport runs it. It used to be that television gave them the reviews. So sometimes we see replays that they don't actually. You know who's doing the best job, in my judgment, with replays is the Southeastern Conference. They are running it basically like the NBA. So all of their replays are run out of Birmingham, and they have a replay official. So there's very little time. I think this has got to be a technical foul. I mean, he elbowed him, unless they're going to say it's a double technical.
And here comes Mike Stevens over to tell us what's going on.
It's a double technical.
Well, what did Funderburk do?
I don't know. He must have said something. Maybe that was the time taken. It was lip reading. It was lip reading. Yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't know. But this is the best result because it just goes to point of interruption. So it'll be.
Well, it's not the best result if one guy did something the other guy didn't.
Well, I don't think Cafaro took a swing at him for no reason. I mean, I think there was probably drawing going back and forth that could have been called a technical.
Well, if they're able to ascertain that off the replay, these guys.
I don't know. Maybe they saw it. Maybe they had something earlier. I have no idea. I just wish we would get rid of replay.
Yes. And the key there is it's Funderburk's 4th foul, so that's enormous. He was by far the best player in the second half. Not so much of a factor. In the first half, I should say, not so much of a factor here in the second half. Morcell, another big play. He's come out of a funk that had cost him some playing time lately, and now Funderburk is just fouled out. So that's why what they deemed off of the replay a moment ago was so big.
Well, it's also big just on that call, because that looked like, to me, it was more offense initiated than anything, unless they're trying to claim that somehow Funderburk was in his cylinder. That's with all the contact in this game. I don't know. That wasn't very much.
So Funderburk fouls out with 14 points, 12 of those in the first half, 5 rebounds. And again, they're undermanned. They only have 7 scholarship players dressed tonight due to injury. They only had 10 at the start of the year. Dixon's going to come back in. Kevin Keats very angry with the officiating crew, spent most of that little break hollering at the officials.
I think he's also frustrated with his team. I mean, they haven't been able to get anything on the offensive end.
Here, key players they were without tonight. Manny Bates, leading shot blocker in the conference. It started every game. Pat Andre, a key bench player. Bates didn't even make the trip. Andre did. But he's at the end of the bench with an injured right ankle. Didn't participate at all in their walkthrough this morning. It's a 1-point game. The largest lead was 11.
What a tough shot. Off of one pass. Like, NC State has stopped passing the ball. It is just a dribble move off of one little screen.
Whoa, the lights have gone up. And now they're back on. Coach Keats hopes that's an omen that the lights will come back on for his offense, which has been in the dark here.
Now they're going to have to review what the time was when the lights went out.
NC State's gone 7 minutes 27 seconds now without a point.
That's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
And we mentioned earlier they're one of the highest scoring teams in the conference behind only Duke. NC State averages 77 points per game.
Well, Virginia is such a rhythm disrupting team, not only with the pace at which they play, but their defense is so good. You're not going to get your shots in any kind of rhythm. So it's a test of your patience. I mean, I've joked in the past, but there's some seriousness to it that now a little zone right now, 3-2 zone for NC State. But playing Virginia is like going to the dentist and no Novocaine. I mean, it's just so difficult.
Duhé Clark whips it to the corner for the lead. Casey Morcell. He has 9 points on 4 out of 6 shooting. He was 4 for his last 20. Coming in, played only 4 minutes on Saturday at Georgia Tech because of the funk that he's been in. Helens whistle as he passed off, and he's called for the offensive foul.
Sean, right now, NC State is playing hero ball. It's just each individual in red is give me the ball and I'll do it, instead of 5 guys moving, passing, screening. Just a really good play by Mamadi Diakite and a good call. That was a charge. But right now on the offensive end, NC State is totally disrupted, out of rhythm, and trying to play hero ball. A great pass across court against the zone after the penetration. And how about Casey Morcell? He had been really struggling coming into this game. 2 of 13 in his last 4 coming in, and he has made some terrific plays on both ends of the floor in this game.
13-0 run for Virginia. North Carolina State hasn't scored in 8 minutes and 6 seconds. They had an 11-point lead. These two teams tied for 4th in the ACC, each at 4 and 3.
Right now, NC State does not have a furrowed brow. They don't look like they're together right now, and they have been a together team for most of the season.
Florida State and Louisville atop the conference. We talked about Virginia at one point was ranked number 5. Now they're unranked. Florida State early in the year unranked. Now number 5 in the country.
Florida State makes it near impossible to run what you want to run. They are so good defensively.
We'll see them in 2 weeks on Big Monday from Tallahassee. Markel Johnson. C.J. Bryce. And now a little ticky-tack foul on Mamadi Diakite, his second.
NC State really, after that miss, trying to push the ball up court, but Virginia is so good at stopping the ball. They get back so effectively in transition and organize themselves. It is rare they give up anything off a rebound.
That was the 6th-team foul, so on the next Virginia foul, both teams will be in the bonus. Dixon was alone underneath, but Diakite blocked the pass by Helms.
Well, just spectacular defense from Diakite. Hands up and on the ball, tracing it, deflecting. It's like a defensive lineman knocking a pass down from a quarterback. Nice job keeping his dribble from Clark.
Dumped it off. Cafaro, count it, and a chance for a 3-point play.
Kihei Clark kept his dribble rather than picking it up in the lane. And Cafaro doing a great job of sealing off. Got a little foul, just a touch foul from Danny Dixon. That was a little bit of a continuation because it looked like he was hit on the floor before he started into it, but a great play by Cafaro to finish it.
And he missed the free throw. This is the largest lead of the game for Virginia. Saw the graphic a moment ago. They've led for only about 3 minutes in this game.
They scored like 15 straight points or something. It's remarkable.
Blocking foul called. And now each side agitated with the officiating, which was not a factor at all in the first half, but is becoming one here. First foul on Kihei Clark. It puts him over the limit. Second foul on Kihei Clark now.
Well, the only reason that you think this is a charge is because officials in college call a charge whenever anybody falls down. But I do think that was a block. Most charge block calls are blocks, but yet in college basketball, most of them are called charges. It's remarkable.
Nearly 10 minutes without scoring for NC State. This is the way Virginia has to win on the defensive end because they're one of the worst offensive teams in the country. Leading with 4 minutes to go, despite the fact they have only 46 points.
Virginia has been terrific defensively in this second half. They've taken away drives. They've done a great job. When Funderburk was in the game, they limited him in the second half. But NC State has contributed to this. They have not moved the ball at all. It has been all dribbling. Very few. I bet their passes per possession are down about 2 in the second half. That's not going to get it done.
Helms had a rough night shooting, and that one goes. It didn't look like much rotation on the ball. A little bit of a knuckleball, but it went through the net, and finally, NC State, going more than 10 minutes without a point, has a bucket, and they're within 1.
Cafaro doing a nice job of occupying the defense because he's posting so hard.
And now some bodies bumping underneath the bucket.
It was Helms.
Helms called for the foul. He just made a huge 3-point bucket for the Wolfpack.
Little pick and pop. The ball moved more on that possession. 4 passes and a bucket.
Exciting indeed, Kevin. Thank you. Officially, the NC State scoreless drought was 10 minutes 13 seconds. A little more time obviously come off the clock since the big bucket by Helm. Virginia the 15-3 run. They were down by 11. Now they're up by 1 with 3:14 to go. And both teams over the limit. So that foul right before the media timeout sends Mamadi Diakite to the free throw line. He's 2 for 2 from the line tonight.
Virginia's defense in the second half, excellent. But how about Casey Morsell to come in? He's been a huge factor in this ballgame. He's got 9 points, 3 rebounds in 17 minutes. The shots he's hit has been not only a shot in the arm for him, but certainly for Virginia.
Foul on Helms was the 10th team foul, so 2 shots the rest of the way for UVA. Diakite made 1 out of 2. He has 8 points. DJ Funderburk is fouled out. They were shorthanded coming here. They're really up against it from a personnel standpoint right now as they try to win in Charlottesville for the first time since 2005. They've lost 8 in a row at UVA. Markel Johnson for 3. And the lead back for the Wolfpack.
Boy, just a spectacular pull-up on Kihei Clark. It looked like there was actually some contact on that shot, but that was not an easy shot by Markel Johnson. Watch.
Had a quiet night. He has 7 points. He needs 5 more to reach 1,000 for his career. He'd be the 53rd NC State player ever to do that. Oklahoma #1 Baylor in the on-deck circle. Morcell off the mark, but the long rebound comes all the way out to Kihei Clark, and he's in no hurry.
The offensive glass has been a huge factor for Virginia in this game.
Running hook wouldn't go for Kihei Clark, so now the ball and a 1-point lead with under 2 minutes to go.
Look like Xavier Simpson of Michigan. I've not seen Kihei Clark do that much.
C.J. Bryce guarded by Cody Statman. 5 seconds to shoot. Bryce, tough shot, wouldn't go. Rebounded in traffic by Helms, and he put it back up and in. He's had a couple of big buckets for NC State down the stretch.
It looked like Diakite had Helms blocked out, but he did not surrender to the block out and kept plugging past it. That was a spectacular offensive rebound. Talk about rebounding out of your area.
Down to 8 to shoot for Virginia, and approaching 1 minute to go in regulation. Underneath, the good catch by Kafaro. Shot blocked. Bryson Johnson there. Crowd wanted a foul. They say Virginia ball, but the shot clock has expired.
Well, it depends if it hit out of bounds before the clock expired. Kafaro with a good catch. I think it hit the floor before the shot clock went to 0.
Question 2 is, was there a foul there by Bryce from behind? The fans here certainly think so.
Absolutely a foul. He might have gotten it up top, but he hit him in the back. And shooters are just not being protected in college basketball this year.
So back to the monitor. So Michael Stevens and James Breeding for this review. With 57.5 to go.
I thought the ball hit the ground out of bounds before the clock went to 0. You can see up top, that's a foul.
And they're going to put 1 second back on the clock.
There it is.
It did bounce with 1 second on the clock, as you see. So not much Virginia can do here. Perhaps attempt to lob it toward the rim.
That's exactly what they're going to attempt to do.
And that was well defended by the Wolfpack. Diakite shot.
That did not get off.
After a moment's hesitation, that was the call.
I don't know. Why do the referees have to explain this to Tony Bennett? They called a shot clock violation. Let's go.
Was Tony trying to claim that was a fast 1 second?
Probably.
It's a 10th turnover against Virginia. I'm with you. Can we just get rid of all replay?
I mean, this is ridiculous. That's a catch, gather,
and no
the
question.
clock went off.
It's
I mean,
0.
we're at Virginia. They're running the clock.
Come on now.
No, but seriously, I mean, you know, this is silly. They made a call. There is no reason for this to happen.
Well, you can see Pat Driscoll, he was ready to count it. He had his arm in the air for 3. Mike Stevens on the other side blew the whistle and signaled a shot clock violation.
But who did they give the ball to? Because the shot hit the rim, and then the rebound was coming off, so they'd have to go to the arrow. This has not been well handled.
And the longer it goes, I think the more people watching this game would agree even more enthusiastically with you, if that's the right word, for what's happening here. And right now, no signal from any of the officials about what this is.
It's a shot clock violation, so it's going to be NC State's ball.
These are officials with Final Four experience too.
It's not the officials' fault, but you know, it's just sort of the way officiating is. There's a difference. The officials are great. Officiating has not been great, and that's the fault of the people who make the rules committee and the like.
Is that kind of like the food's not very good, but the chef's great? I'm trying to figure out the logic behind that. I understand you're saying it's the rules that are bad and put these guys in a tough spot.
It's like blaming the cop when the law is wrong.
Bryce. Tough shot. Right at the shot clock buzzer.
Boy, I'll tell you, NC State could have folded in this game. They went forever without scoring. DJ Funderburk fouls out. You know, they're down a couple of possessions, and yet they answer all those problems and come back and make some big buckets. Markel Johnson makes one. C.J. Bryce makes one. I mean, here's a really difficult shot to give them the lead. Now, that would normally be termed a bad shot. And then C.J. Bryce, little step back fadeaway, and then Helms with the excellent offensive rebound. Did not surrender to the blockout, and Bryce, who has got a terrific mid-range game. He's not really a great three-point shooter. He transferred in where he played for Kevin Keats at UNC Wilmington. Called it UNCW, but UNC Wilmington. And those are some big-time plays down the stretch on the road for NC State.
Well, they went more than 10 minutes without a point. Now it's a 7-0 NC State run. Take a 5-point lead. Sports Center tonight, right after our next game. Coming up in just moments, Oklahoma and Baylor. Kenny Mayne and John Anderson will have Sports Center for you. Tim Legler will break down the Lakers and Celtics. We'll preview the return through action of Zion Williamson, his NBA debut for the Pelicans on Wednesday. Plus the Chiefs and Niners road to the Super Bowl. Sports Center after Big 12 hoops on ESPN and the ESPN app.
How Zion makes the Pelicans better. Maybe it's a shooting 70%.
Lately, they played pretty well without him.
Yeah, they played well.
They can only make them better with as talented as he is. It's just great for the NBA. He plays with a smile on his face. You know, not only a great player, but he's extremely likable.
And his smile is usually above the rim.
So 7-0 the run, 10-1 as well. And now Virginia, one of the worst offensive teams in the country. Usually when you hold somebody scores for that long, you'd have a pretty comfortable lead.
They just called a foul trying to inbound the ball. What a bad foul by C.J. Bryce.
Well, that goes back to what we heard this morning. It's the second foul on Bryce. Kevin Keats now puts his team. There's a foul as he grabs Kihei Clark.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
At the end of the shoot-around, he goes through. He gives his team a little quiz about game situations. And he says, well, if the score is this and we have this many timeouts and this happens, what do we do? I'm pretty sure they know in that game situation with a 5-point lead, you don't foul with the ball not even in play.
Yeah. I mean, and that was a foul, but it's not a foul that often gets called. Just done out in the open. Just not a very smart play by C.J. Bryce. That's a one-possession game.
So now, was that the rules or the officiating?
What's that?
What happened there when you said you don't see that?
No, that's C.J. Bryce. That's not the official's fault. That was a foul.
Right.
I'm just saying it's not all the time called. That's not on the officials. That was just a less than intelligent play by a smart player. And because, 27 seconds, no time goes off the clock. They walk 90 feet, make 2 free throws, and now all of a sudden it's a one-possession game. And NC State is, they were in a great vibe, and now all of a sudden they feel like, hey, we better get something done here. That's a problem. I'll tell you who I would foul if I were Virginia. I'd put Markel Johnson on the line. Yeah, he's just a 59% free throw shooter. I would make sure that he catches it and gets the ball, and I would put him right on the line. I wouldn't even wait. Or just foul him when he breaks for the ball. I mean, they just call the foul on C.J. Bryce for the same thing. Do that. Let no time go off the clock and make Markel Johnson go down and shoot free throws.
So 27 seconds to go. The three-point game. NC State with the ball. And the lead. Not exactly sure why they're holding the ball here. And here we go.
Foul.
And they do. When they inbounded the ball to their best ball handler, their point guard, but as you said, he's a dicey free throw shooter. 3 fouls on Kihei Clark now. Not yet to the double bonus. This will be a 1-and-1.
Think about how bad that foul was by C.J. Bryce. There was 27 seconds and NC State was up 5. Now there's 25.8.
1-and-1. Not close. Off the front rim. Now a 3 to tie. They're the worst three-point shooting team in the league. Can Huff get them one? No. Off the rim and over the backboard and out of bounds to NC State with 13.3 to go.
NC State needs to get the ball to Braxton Beverly. He has got to be the guy that catches the ball. He's the best free throw shooter.
Now it's UVA. It's gone more than 4 minutes without a field goal. Helms to play it in. Bryce comes for the ball and immediately fouled by Braxton Key.
The second best option. He's a 78% free throw shooter. And I think C.J. Bryce has got a clutch gene in him.
He's 9th in the ACC in free throw shooting. 2 fouls now on Key. That's the 9th team foul, so this is the last 1-and-1 for Bryce. 1 for 2 from the line tonight. It knocked out. Key fouled. They fouled to prevent the 3. A lot of time left. 8.2 to go.
Probably, well, more than you'd rather have. But I think given the difficulty Virginia has scoring, extend the game out a little bit and just, keep that lead.
This is 2 shots for Kihei Clark. Excellent free throw shooter, 85%.
This all comes down now to inbounding the ball cleanly.
It's a 1-point game with 8.2 to go. They fouled Devin Daniels. He is a 75% free throw shooter.
Daniels transferred in from the University of Utah. He's the best defender on this team, and now as an experienced player is going to be stepping the line, try to extend this out to a 3-point game.
One of the biggest free throws he hopes will be 2 free throws because it's the double bonus now. These are 2 of the biggest he has shot for NC State. That time they get a friendly bounce.
Well, if he makes this, then NC State can put some full court pressure on, try to slow the advance, and then foul once they get across half court.
Timeout called by Virginia. So if you're Tony Bennett, Jason Williford, and the rest of the outstanding coaches in that Virginia huddle, you know if NC State makes this free throw, that's what they're going to do. Logic was they just fouled with a 3-point lead a second ago. So you try to design something that gets the ball moving around enough that they can't foul you.
Well, you'd like to do that. The problem is it's hard to get you want to get a longer pass if possible, or get something on the run, maybe curling off a little screen around the free throw line to get it, catch it on the run. But remember, Virginia had some pretty good experience in last year's NCAA tournament, knocking a ball back out against Purdue.
Wow. I mean, they just had so many moments that made it seem like it was destined to be their national championship.
But it may just be you wind up accepting the foul quickly and then going down shooting the free throw. But the big thing here is Devin Daniels having knocked this free throw in.
Virginia's 3 out of 11 from 3-point range tonight. And for the year, Tony Bennett's team is under 27% from 3, 26.8. That is number 344 in the country out of 350.
And if NC State makes this, and it's a three-point game, the thing for NC State to remember is if Virginia decides to attack the basket, don't get undisciplined and come off a three-point shooter. Guard the line. 2 doesn't beat you, 3 does.
It rolls off. Now they need just 2 to tie, 3 for a win. Morcell's had a great night. Morcell fires off the front rim as time expires.
Tony Bennett suggesting there was some contact there, but boy, for NC State to win this, they tried. It's almost like they tried to give it away at the end, but boy, a good win on the road for NC State to get out of here with a 1-point victory.
Morcell looking up at the replay. Let's see if he was fouled. He didn't seem to be particularly agitated. It was Helms, the defender. I don't see anything there, do you?
No, I mean, it was close. But if you look, there was a little bit of contact up near his arm.
And of course, needing only a 2 to tie, they would have liked a better shot than that. But with time running out, they took the shot they could get. First win here, as he mentioned, for NC State since 2005. And it overall ends an 8-game losing streak at the hands of Virginia. 53-51 the final. Now Oklahoma and Baylor. Here's Bob Wischusen.